This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. There are further indications tonight of criminal activity involving billions of taxpayer dollars intended for the defense of the United States. Bribery, fraud, rigged bids, and other sweetheart deals with contractors are part of what is suspected. And there are new accusations that some high government officials were, at the very least, asleep at the wheel. Included in the fresh evidence, results of an FBI wiretap. Pentagon correspondent David Martin reports.
In his first major response to the Pentagon bribery scandal, Defense Secretary Frank Carlucci today stopped payment on some $1 billion worth of Navy contracts suspected of being tainted by bribery. Carlucci also said he is reviewing all Pentagon contracts with 4 defense firms suspected of purchasing inside information.
We are reviewing all contracts with Litton, Hazeltine, Emhart, and Norden to determine whether any of these contracts have been tainted.
Carlucci acted after a federal magistrate unsealed an FBI affidavit which gives both him and the public the most detailed look yet into the bribery scandal.
Well, this is, yes, indeed, this is very much more specific, and wherever we have specific evidence, we will take action. As I've indicated previously, we do not need to wait convictions or even trials for that matter.
Carlucci is also suspending George Stone, a Navy contracting officer suspected of taking bribes. Stone was overheard on an FBI wiretap giving this man, a defense consultant named Mark Saunders, sealed bids submitted by companies competing to build a communication system. The FBI believes Saunders paid Stone for the information, and Carlucci today suspended Saunders from doing business with the Pentagon.
What company do you work for, sir?
I don't know. I think I got to start a new one.
What was the company before?
I can't remember.
According to the affidavit, Saunders passed the inside information to a second consultant named Thomas Muldoon, who worked for several different defense firms. In one phone call, the FBI overheard Saunders give Muldoon inside information, and Muldoon replied, quote, $60,000 is in the bag now. The contracts Carlucci ordered frozen today all involved communications and data processing equipment.
If you're talking about grave or serious impact on readiness or modernization programs, I would not yet put what we've done today in that category, but clearly it has an impact.
Today's action was in response to the unsealing of a single affidavit. 40 others remain under court seal. If Carlucci is forced to take similar action when all those other documents are unsealed, the impact on national security could indeed be serious. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Democratic Senator Proxmire and Republican Senator Grassley are expected to release a General Accounting Office report this weekend. It harshly criticizes the Justice Department for its handling of the defense fraud cases. The report is said to blame the Justice Department in part for the government's failure to mount any real fight against defense fraud. The Justice Department calls the charges absolutely inaccurate. Every day of this week's historic Soviet Communist Party conference outdid the previous one. Today's closing session was the capper. It featured a no-holds-barred duel between 2 arch-rivals and a call by Mikhail Gorbachev for a monument to the victims of Stalin. More from Moscow and Barry Peterson.
In a week when the Communist Party tossed aside its rules of conduct, this was the biggest surprise of all. Former Politburo member Boris Yeltsin, deposed for criticizing Gorbachev's conservative opponents, was allowed to speak. When his time was up, he stopped, but wanted to say more. Gorbachev called for a vote. Do we want more? Go on, he urged. Finish. Yeltsin was unrepentant, saying he was fired for saying things a year ago behind closed doors that had been said here in public all week. Then he sharply attacked the old men still in command. It pleased the crowd, but not one Politburo member, including Gorbachev, was seen clapping his hands. And it prompted an angry response from conservative Politburo member Yegor Ligachev, who came out slugging. He accused Yeltsin of being a fallen communist who offered nothing constructive at Politburo meetings. He took practically no part in the important decisions of our country, Ligachev complained. It's monstrous, but it's a fact. As for Yeltsin, one of Gorbachev's most ardent admirers, it was a day for showing off even more of the new-style democracy, saying he likes most, but not all, of Gorbachev's proposals. The delegates loved it. Now, said one, we've gotten to the meat of it. Gorbachev sympathized with Yeltsin, but joined the criticism against him, a move that pleased the conservatives he needs to stay in power. And as the conference ended, delegates gave Gorbachev's reforms a vote of confidence, even for his proposal that all party officials, including Gorbachev, be limited to a maximum 10-year term of office. Take home the memory of the free-for-all debate, Gorbachev told the delegates. The old secret way is over. This is the new way. Barry Peterson, CBS News, Moscow.
In his closing speech, Gorbachev called the Communist Party conference a success and said confidently that his crusade for restructuring has, and I quote now, the unqualified support of the people. On that subject, his is not the final say, as our chief European correspondent Tom Fenton reports from Moscow.
For the man who called this historic conference, time may be running out. All week long, Gorbachev has been buttonholing delegates, trying to impress them with the need to act fast.
If we wait till we've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, comrades, we're not going to get anywhere.
This week, he continued to dazzle the Soviet people with an array of new ideas, that the Soviet Union should be a government of laws, that there is more than one truth, that religious views must be respected. He has once again raised expectations.
Mostly people are very enthusiastic, very. So far he stands for his words, I will tell you. It's a lot of pressure on him, but I think he's really going forward and going in the right direction.
But for all of Gorbachev's glasnost and perestroika, you can't buy it in the stores and you can't eat ideas. The Kremlin's own economists say Gorbachev has 1 or 2 years at the most to improve the Soviet standard of living or lose the support of the Soviet people. In the countryside, the heartland of the Soviet Union, there is already skepticism. For farmer Nikolai Korochev, Gorbachev's proposals came 20 years too late.
He has made a lot of promises, but so far we have not seen any results.
I welcome Gorbachev's ideas, but we haven't felt any change.
Even in the Soviet military, there are reservations about this man's ideas for their future. He wants to slow down the arms race, fewer tanks for his generals. This Soviet colonel says some of those generals will have a hard time living with less.
For everyone in the military, the policy of Gorbachev was a real revelation. There is support, but there are doubts.
He's only beginning to meet the real difficulties.
What are his chances of success? 50-50?
50-50.
Medvedev says the Russian people and history will judge Gorbachev the reformer by his results, not just his ideas. He will either be forgotten like Khrushchev, the failed reformer, or remembered like Lenin, the revolutionary. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Moscow.
In Washington, 2 weeks before its final report is due, President Reagan's task force on the drought today promised new federal aid to farmers if the dry weather continues. And Agriculture Secretary Ling said the drought could push up food prices as much as 2% this year. Meanwhile, in the South today, correspondent Bruce Hall reports it was turnabout time.
Carl King is repaying a debt of gratitude to those who helped him survive the disastrous southeastern drought of 2 years ago. He is cutting his fields, not for himself, but for the Midwestern farmers who this year are suffering through their own devastating drought. A drought that's destroying feed crops and leaving cattle with little food.
We run out of feed. These fellows sent us feed, sent us hay, which was a real blessing to us. And now I'm just real proud that I've got some I can send back.
The only ones who did not understand were the cows, who tried to get that last bite before the load of hay left. Carl King is a happy man today. He is sending even more hay back to the Midwest than he received 2 years ago.
Oh, that's just a wonderful feeling. Yes, sir. That's a mighty fine feeling. Yes, sir.
This morning, farmers lined up to donate hay. This may only be the first of the hay caravans from the Carolinas and Virginia to drought-stricken Midwestern farmers.
Y'all get in the truck.
King brought his granddaughters along to help load the big trucks. He wanted them to share in the feeling of giving. 2 years ago, southeastern farmers were going bankrupt. Then the hay trains began arriving. The free hay saved Sam Bailey's dairy farm. Today, he watched as his hay was being loaded onto the caravan, saying he felt better than he had in years.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. Good feeling. I always like to help hay, and I'm glad we got the hay to do it.
In less than 2 hours, the trucks were filled. More hay kept pouring in, so plans are being made for another trip next week. The big trucks hit the road, and there will be a celebration in Coldwater, Ohio when they arrive tomorrow morning. But this is one celebration they would be happy to have rained out. Bruce Hall, CBS News, Charlotte County, Virginia.
And still to come on the CBS Evening News, the presidential nominees-to-be talk about what they want America to be. And correspondent Bob McNamara looks at one way to visit the America that was, now that it's summertime.
You've probably heard about pain relievers that sound new, but they're not new to hospitals. For years, hospitals have known about ibuprofen, aspirin, and Tylenol products. And today, their overwhelming choice, Tylenol. In fact, last year, they dispensed Tylenol 10 times more than the leading aspirin and ibuprofen brands combined. If hospitals use Tylenol most, shouldn't your choice be Tylenol too? Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
Susan, can we talk?
Sure, Dad.
You notice anything different about Mom?
She's acting pretty wild for her age.
Well, I don't just mean the roller skates.
And the motor scooter. She even borrowed my new dress. Come on, Dad, what is it?
A balanced diet with the right vitamin nutrition helps people get more out of life. Some are finding Kellogg's Product 19. 100% of 12 vitamins and minerals. Feel good about yourself.
Not the, rubber dress.
Feel like 19 again.
My wife, every night she disappears into the bathroom. Who knows what's going on? But whatever it is, it makes her feel really good. See?
Clean away stains and freshen dentures with Efferdent every night.
When you have heartburn, you can bet on effective cherry-flavored Rolaids antacid. Calcium-rich, sodium-free, and a winning cherry taste. Cherry-flavored Rolaids. Tastes like cherry, works like Rolaids.
The nation's elderly and disabled got help today. President Reagan signed into law the Catastrophic Illness Insurance Bill, which the Congress made into the first substantial increase in Medicare benefits since the program was established 23 years ago. Democratic presidential frontrunner Michael Dukakis stumped in the Midwest today. His Republican counterpart George Bush was in the East. Both were offering strong but differing views of this country on the eve of celebrating Independence Day. We have two reports on the candidates and what they find right and wrong about America. Our campaign coverage begins with Bill Whitaker and the Dukakis quest for a running mate.
Michael Dukakis came to the Midwest to discuss jobs and family issues. But in Ohio today, almost everyone seemed more interested in his choice of a running mate. Dukakis fanned the curiosity by appearing with Ohio Senator John Glenn, widely believed to be the #1 contender for the job.
Incidentally, I've been taking a poll all over America about running mates. How many of you think that John Glenn would be a good running mate?
John Glenn played coy.
Well, this is certainly not my press conference here. I'm glad to be here and be backing Governor Dukakis for president.
Dukakis did little to quash speculation. Asked if the former astronaut was too lackluster to help the ticket.
Dull and boring. I kind of like that.
Still, as if to emphasize that in fact he has not yet made up his mind, Dukakis appeared last night with another reported VP contender, Indiana Congressman Lee Hamilton, and he's having 4th of July dinner with yet another, Jesse Jackson. Dukakis says he wants a vice president who shares his values and goals, and here in the heartland, he's laying out his vision for America. He paints a picture of a nation basically sound but anxious about the future, about drugs, failing schools, shattered families. Republicans say he preaches doom and gloom. Dukakis says he preaches optimism.
That is what this campaign is all about. About American values, about the family, about jobs, about economic opportunity.
It's a message voters here in the struggling Rust Belt seem ready to hear.
That even though things are going well, they could be going better. But I think the future is being mortgaged.
It's a sense of unease Dukakis seeks to exploit.
We have a choice. We can look at our problems and give up, or we can look at our children and gear up.
It's a message that's neither liberal nor conservative in the traditional sense. It's a message that simply says it's time for a change. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Dayton.
Oh, say, can you see?
The America George Bush talked about this week in his presidential campaign is one that doesn't need much change.
We're in the 6th year of uninterrupted growth, the longest peacetime expansion in the history of the United States of America.
In city after city, speech after speech, the vice president echoes Ronald Reagan's message of morning in America, and he attacks the Democrats as harbingers of midnight in America.
Let them talk gloom and doom. Let them give a negative message. I'm going to be saying, look, I'm proud. We have every reason to be optimistic about the future of the United States of America. Let them talk about the misery index, and we'll talk about the prosperity index. I'm going to broaden the prosperity that we currently enjoy. I'm going to continue what's worked for the past 8 years and frankly change what hasn't.
Bush recognizes that the country is in a mood for some change, but he's yet to flesh out his own program. Instead, he's branding Michael Dukakis as an old-style liberal and his policies as nothing new.
Liberals promise compassion, but they deliver misery. And we promise hope and growth and opportunity, and we deliver.
So, in a week that Dukakis stressed compassion and caring, the Bush campaign argued that nothing is more important than a paycheck.
By putting people to work over the last 8 years, we think that 4 more years of that's going to be good for this country.
But that is also Bush's challenge, convincing workers displaced in the changing American economy that he can put compassion into Reaganomics. Jacqueline Adams, CBS News, Washington.
John Sicaro, Jr., the son of former Democratic vice presidential candidate Geraldine Ferraro, began a 4-month sentence late today for selling cocaine. Sicaro reported to prison in South Burlington, Vermont for processing. He then was released to take part in a house arrest program. The prosecutor in Sicaro's case protested this treatment as making a mockery of, quote, the message we're trying to send. Officials in Hackensack, New Jersey today said 5 firefighters were killed when the roof collapsed as they battled a blaze at the Hackensack Ford automobile dealership. Officials said no employees at the auto agency were injured. All 100 firefighters in the community were dispatched to the scene. There's been a major drug bust in a New York City suburb. Officials seized about 6,000 pounds of cocaine hidden in blocks of chocolate and arrested 3 men last night. Officials say they found the cocaine last week aboard a U.S. freighter docked in New Jersey on its return from Ecuador, then followed the cocaine to a Long Island warehouse to make the bust. The cocaine's street value, an estimated $480 million.
You're looking at birth control for roaches, an advance in biotechnology that goes beyond other roach killers. Only in Black Flag Roach Ender.
Other products kill, but leave survivors to breed thousands more roaches. Roach Ender brand kills and sterilizes young survivors before they can breed.
It kills the roaches and stops the breeding. Black Flag Roach Ender.
Black Flag makes a science of killing bugs.
What harm can a little water do? The damaging effects of water and time have always been wood's enemy. Introducing new Rust-Oleum Wood Saver Paint, a special wood formula with Teflon for twice the moisture protection of ordinary paint. So if it's going to get wet, get Rust-Oleum.
Peerless do-it-yourself faucets come with stainless steel construction and a 15-year warranty. Peerless is also the only faucet that comes with this feature, a free 12-month subscription to Home Mechanics Magazine. Offer good through July 31st.
Across this country for ice cream fun, America's favorite is 31.
Robbins. Sweet, sweet Baskin Robbins. What a treat. Oh, Baskin Robbins, you're America's ice cream treat.
Secretary of State George Shultz flew home tonight from Costa Rica after a three-day whirlwind visit to Central America. He pledged U.S. help today against what he called Nicaraguan subversion, including military cooperation. After meeting last night with Contra rebel leaders, Shultz acknowledged today that new Contra aid is being considered. Rebel leader Adolfo Calero says the $30 million package would include military aid to be held in escrow. Shultz stopped yesterday in Honduras, where the future of the Contras is public issue number one. Correspondent Richard Schlesinger reports.
People who live in the small Honduran border towns know the price of U.S. policy towards Nicaragua. This is Las Trojes. At one time, 400 families fled here when the Contras moved into their hometowns.
Derrotado con mi familia.
Adrian Castellano says he came here with just his children. He couldn't save anything else. This is the type of scene he and others fled, a Contra camp in Honduras bombed by the Sandinistas. Where the Contras go, trouble often follows. Honduras still allows supplies to be delivered to Contra camps in this country, but unless Congress approves more aid, the supplies will dry up in September. And so far, no one knows where the Contras will go or what they'll do. Hondurans now worry that after 6 years of being a loyal U.S. ally, Washington will desert them, leaving this small country to deal with the Contras alone.
There could be criminal acts which could not be stopped. There could be confrontations even.
The Hondurans have asked the United States to make sure this country is not left holding the bag, trying to control thousands of former Contras who would be armed and frustrated.
They're going to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Absolutely, yes.
Have they told you how?
No, we have not insisted on that.
In fact, sources say the U.S. has no plan for what to do with the Contras if further aid is not approved. And one source said when the Hondurans asked for assurances, Secretary of State Shultz said only the U.S. realizes its obligation to the Contras. There was no reference to any obligation to Honduras. The Contras believe if American aid dries up, the soldiers and their families would want to flee to the U.S.
We're talking 100,000, easy. And certainly that would be a problem for the United States.
The Hondurans insist the U.S. should take care of a problem it created, and the people of Las Trojes say they have already paid a high enough price in a war they are not even fighting. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, Danlí, Honduras.
The Van Pattens and Friends talk convenience.
Today, everything is convenience.
Fast food, express banking.
And for oil, lube, and fluid service, there's Jiffy Lube.
In 10 minutes, the J-Team changes the oil.
Here comes the Pennzoil.
With quality Pennzoil. Replaces the filter, lubes the chassis.
And fill the fluids.
So if you want convenient car care,
welcome to Jiffy Lube.
We'll take care of you like family.
Thanks to Jiffy Lube, 90% of car care is half mental.
Why do you take aspirin more than once a week?
Because my doctor told me to take one every day. You see, a few years ago, I had a heart attack. So I'm on a regimen of exercise, a healthy diet, and a tri-buffered bufferin every day.
If you've had a heart attack, ask your doctor about new tri-buffered bufferin. It's 100% aspirin, plus 3 buffers that help protect against stomach upset plain aspirin can cause.
Bufferin's a part of my life now.
New tri-buffered bufferin. Ask your doctor about it.
Captain, this itchy rash is driving me crazy.
Why didn't you use the Cord-Aid?
Cord-Aid goes beneath the skin to actually heal itches and rashes.
You know, itches and rashes won't last if you use Cord-Aid first.
Do you get more than you want from your high-fiber cereal, like sodium and added sugar? Get Fiber One. It has more fiber and it's low in sodium and has no added sugar. Get more of the fiber your body needs and less of the stuff it doesn't. Fiber One.
As we approach this holiday weekend, it's easy to call up the names of the patriots who shaped this nation's beginnings, names such as Washington and Jefferson and Adams, but others who are little more than locally famous also left a lasting imprint on our land. What a rich merchant named Peter Faneuil left Boston in 1742 was a market house and meeting place which is a living monument, rich in history and still making it. Faneuil Hall is also the centerpiece for the first in a new series of reports on this broadcast from Bob McNamara about how Americans are living and playing this summertime.
Think about national parks and we imagine this: majestic Colorado mountains, the fragile natural beauty of Utah. But even here there is a park, Boston's National Historic Park, and this, the heart of it.
Welcome all of you to Faneuil Hall.
Faneuil Hall. For almost 2.5 centuries, it has echoed the words of an American history roll call. Daniel Webster, Samuel Adams, George Washington. Here, the Revolution was born.
Every ruckus that occurred in Boston before the Revolution was preceded by meetings in here. The massacre, Tea Party, Stamp Act riots.
One tour after another for 10 years now, Park Ranger John Manson has patiently recited the hall's history. How Lincoln's last portrait got here. Why the faces in a Bunker Hill battle scene are the faces of the same man. But just a few ever see that John Manson is blind.
More surprising than me getting up and delivering a speech. People observing me reading a map, that probably gets more surprise reactions.
But John Manson shies attention from himself to the hall he works. The old building that's a backdrop for street performers, where history is redone in real life every day.
Meeting will come to order.
It may be a union, meeting to defy a management contract offer.
You would think we were dealing with the King of England's tax on tea here. He's telling us if you don't like it, that's too bad, drink coffee. That I will support. I will support.
And while ROTC cadets are inducted into the Army in the hall's ancient and honorable artillery company armory,
Barbie Joe and Graham.
new names are heard in the hall where Davy Crockett and John F. Kennedy spoke.
Vincenzo R. Russo.
Vincenzo Russo.
Luis Vasquez.
Luis Vasquez. It is South Boston High School's graduation, and with Hispanic, Laotian, and Cambodian names added to those of Daniel Webster and John Quincy Adams, the fathers of the Revolution could not have imagined their dream coming so far. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Boston.
Happy 4th of July, everybody. Good night.
Morning, ladies.
Morning.
Like to see how your cereals stack up to Total?
Lovely idea.
To get the vitamins in one bowl of Total, it takes almost 3 bowls of Special K.
Pass the all brand, Gloria.
Takes 4 bowls of that.
That's why I like shredded wheat.
Then you'll have to eat 12 bowls.
You better loosen your girdle, Margaret.
Total has 100% of 9 vitamins and iron and is rich in calcium.
I've always preferred Total.
Total, a stack of nutrition in just 1 bowl.
Before I fell off my 10-speed and ended up in the hospital, I never gave much thought to pain relievers. The hospital gave me Tylenol. It stopped the pain without irritating my stomach, like aspirin can, and it really made me think. Ever since that day, I've been a lot more careful about medicine. What do I trust now? Just one thing, Tylenol.
Trust Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
Why cook in oil, margarine, or butter? All natural Pam adds only 1/10 the fat and calories and keeps food light and delicious. Pam cooking spray, because how you cook is as important as what you cook.
Captain, this itchy rash is driving me crazy.
Why didn't you use the Cord-Aid?
Cord-Aid goes beneath the skin to actually heal itches and rashes.
You know, itches and rashes won't last if you use Cord-Aid first.
Burt Reynolds draws the line with Tom DeLuise.
It'll never come around.
On the next Win, Lose, or Draw.
Win, Lose, or Draw, tonight at 6:30.
Coming up on Eyewitness News tonight, a massive manhunt is underway around Percy Priest Lake. We'll have the very latest with a live report. William Scott Day returns to Nashville to stand trial for the murder of Mary Catherine Strobel. And family, friends, and colleagues pay last respects to murder detective David Mandrell. Join us for these